In a world where the government strictly enforces a one-child policy to curb overpopulation, couples daring to defy this rule face severe consequences. John Henry Brennick, a former Army officer, and his wife Karen find themselves risking everything. Karen, against all odds, is pregnant with their second child. Her pregnancy is hidden under a magnetic vest, a desperate measure to evade detection as the couple embarks on a dangerous journey to Vancouver, where they hope she can give birth in secret. As they approach the border checkpoint between the United States and Canada, the tension in the air is palpable. The automated voice commands travelers to gather their belongings for inspection. John grips the steering wheel, his knuckles white, while Karen shifts nervously in her seat. The faint outline of her magnetic vest briefly catches the attention of a border guard, and John's heart sinks. The couple is ordered to step out of the car for a thorough check. The line of people ahead of them moves slowly. Karen and John exchange glances, silently urging each other to stay calm. A young woman in front of them is suddenly pulled aside and arrested for being pregnant. Karen grips John's hand tighter, fear etched across her face. They move forward, and Karen passes through the scanner. Miraculously, the vest masks her condition, and the machine remains silent. They exhale in relief, but their reprieve is short-lived. A suspicious guard notices Karen's unnatural posture and the bulky outline beneath her coat. The alarm blares and chaos erupts. Soldiers swarm toward them. John acts on instinct, fighting them off with the skill of a trained soldier. Amid the chaos, he shouts for Karen to run. Tears stream down her face as she hesitates, unwilling to leave him behind. But John's desperate plea and the realization of what's at stake spur her into action. She runs, clutching her stomach, while John is overwhelmed and captured by the guards. Days later, John finds himself among a group of prisoners being transported to an infamous high-security prison known as the Fortress. The facility, hidden deep within a sprawling desert, is privately owned and designed to be inescapable. Stripped of their belongings and dignity, the prisoners are ushered into a sterile environment where they are subjected to a horrifying procedure. A device is implanted in their intestines, a mechanism known as intestination. This device enforces the prison's rules by inflicting excruciating pain for minor infractions and instant death for major ones. To demonstrate the system's power, a guard deliberately provokes a claustrophobic inmate. In a panic, the man steps over the forbidden yellow line, triggering unbearable pain. Staggering, he stumbles over the red line and his stomach gruesomely explodes. The other prisoners watch in stunned silence, their hopes of escape crushed, and their appetite ruined, I guess. John is placed in a crowded cell with Nino Gomez, a young man who seems perpetually on edge, and D-Day, a sharp and resourceful inmate. The cell is monitored by Z-10, a robotic enforcer that ensures obedience. One inmate, Stiggs, loudly protests the overcrowding, but Zed quickly silences him with a threat of intestination. The atmosphere is oppressive, and John begins to realize the full extent of the nightmare he has entered. That night, John learns another unsettling truth. Abraham, a fellow inmate, warns him not to dream. In this prison, even thoughts are monitored. As John drifts into sleep, memories of Karen fill his mind. In his dream, they are together, free and safe. But his thoughts are not private. Zed scans his brain, and Director Poe, the prison's cruel overseer, observes John's dream from the control room. Poe, captivated by Karen's image, develops an unsettling obsession. When John wakes, the sharp pain in his abdomen makes it clear he has been punished for his unauthorized thoughts. The following day, the prisoners are forced into backbreaking labor in the underground construction zones. During the grueling work, Nino becomes the target of Mad Docs, a predatory inmate who thrives on intimidation. John intervenes, protecting Nino and provoking a brutal fight. Zed intervenes, triggering the devices in their stomachs, bringing both men to their knees in agony. Later, John, Nino, and Mad Docs are confined to a tiny laser cell. When questioned about who started the fight, Nino remains silent, too afraid to speak. To protect him, John takes the blame. He is brought to Director Poe's office, where he encounters Abraham, who is shaving Poe's beard. Poe reveals a chilling secret. Karen has been captured and is now imprisoned in the women's quarters. To torment John further, Poe shows him a live feed of Karen in her cell, then triggers their devices simultaneously, leaving them writhing in pain. Karen, in her cell, befriends another pregnant woman. They share fears about the facility's sinister plans, especially for newborns. When Karen begins to feel labor pains, she is dragged away by guards. She starts to suspect that the fortress does something horrifying with the babies born within its walls. In the men's quarters, tensions boil over when Mad Docs confronts John again. A vicious fight ensues, drawing the attention of prisoners and guards alike. Karen, from her floor, glimpses John in the midst of the chaos and is horrified. Despite being bloodied and exhausted, John refuses to kill Mad Dox, even when ordered to by Poe. Instead, he helps the man back to safety, defying the prison's brutal code. Enraged, Poe takes matters into his own hands. Using a weapon designed to control the prisoners, he detonates the device in Mad Dox's abdomen, leaving a gaping hole in his stomach. The gruesome display silences the room. Karen, now more determined than ever, begins to devise a plan to protect her unborn child. John, battered and broken, vows to find a way to reunite with her, no matter the cost. As despair looms over the fortress, John and Karen cling to their love and hope. Their fight is not just for survival, but for the promise of a better future for their child, a world worth fighting for, even if it means sacrificing everything. John stumbled upon Mad Dox's mysterious abdomen device on the cold prison floor. Without drawing attention, he secretly passed it to his friend Nino, just as the guards dragged him away. Soon John found himself suspended in a monstrous machine called the Mind Wipe Chamber. Director Poe had sent Karen, John's wife, to persuade him to cooperate, and though they talked briefly, the guards soon forced her out. The machine whirred to life, pulling John into a world of unbearable hallucinations. He saw flashes of his life, his time in the military, his wedding day, and cherished moments that slowly twisted into agonizing nightmares. The machine's purpose was to break his mind, and yet, John clung to life. 3 days later, Director Poe, amazed at John's resilience, summoned Karen. No one had survived the machine for more than an hour, let alone days. Poe made Karen a heart-wrenching offer. He would let John go if she stayed with him as his companion. Desperate to save her husband, Karen agreed. When John returned to his cell, he was a shell of the man he used to be, silent, unresponsive, and numb to everything, even pain. The machine indeed broke him. Karen moved into Poe's chamber, but her unease grew. One night, she woke up to find Poe connected to a web of wires. She learned the shocking truth. Poe was an advanced human, a result of experiments to create people who didn't need food or sleep, surviving only on monthly amino acid intakes. All children born in the prison were subjected to similar procedures. Poe, one of the first experimental babies, revealed that this was humanity's attempt to overcome overpopulation and starvation. Karen was horrified by the revelation. Months passed, and John remained unresponsive. One day, Abraham, a fellow inmate, told John that Karen was pregnant and her belly was beginning to show. Though John said nothing, a single tear slid down his cheek. That night, Karen devised a daring plan. She tricked Poe into drinking alcohol, causing him to pass out. She then accessed the control panel that manipulated John's dreams. In his dream, Karen found a younger version of John trapped in a dark pit. She pulled him out, and with it, brought the real John back to life. The next day, John's inmate friends celebrated his recovery. Together, they started plotting an escape. Nino handed John the device he had taken from Mad Dox. D-Day, another inmate who had been a computer expert, studied the device. Meanwhile, Karen stole a holographic lens from Poe's cabin, narrowly avoiding detection. She passed it to Abraham, who gave it to John despite his fears of getting caught. Using the lens, the group discovered a hidden escape route through the prison's construction site. Abraham returned the lens to Poe's cabin the next morning. Meanwhile, D-Day discovered that Mad Dox's device could extract the tracking implants embedded in their bodies. The group tested it, and to their surprise, it worked. They removed their implants, breaking one of the prison's main control mechanisms. The next day, Poe found out about Karen's theft and Abraham's involvement through security footage. Furious, he ordered Abraham's capture and dismissed Zed, his right-hand man, for negligence. The group initiated their escape plan. They used their removed implants to create a diversion at the construction site, triggering an explosion. However, Poe activated the steam valves and deployed advanced human clones to stop them. Trapped in the pipes, the inmates fought back. Stiggs, one of the inmates, panicked and tried to retreat, but the clones killed him. Abraham attempted to help Karen escape, but Poe caught them. In a fit of rage, Poe killed Abraham and ordered Karen's unborn child to undergo the advanced human procedure. The remaining inmates managed to kill a clone and discovered it was also an advanced human. Armed with the clone's weapon, they fought their way into the facility. They reached Poe's chamber and demanded Karen's release. On the screen, they saw doctors preparing to extract Karen's baby. John threatened Poe, but since Poe had been dismissed, he no longer had control over the facility. A malfunctioning security device mistook Poe as a threat and fatally shot him. With his dying breath, Poe declared that the system would continue its operations. D-Day, though injured, disabled the facility's power grid. stopping the procedure and allowing the prisoners to flee. The security system collapsed and chaos erupted as inmates escaped. John and Nino found Karen and rescued her. The three managed to escape in a vehicle, driving far from the facility. They stopped only when they crossed the border into Mexico. Karen, now in labor, sought shelter in a shed. As John prepared for the birth of their child, the vehicle they had escaped in reactivated. Still under the facility's control, it struck Nino, killing him instantly. Enraged and desperate, John confronted the vehicle. Armed with the clone's weapon, he destroyed it in a fiery explosion. But the vehicle's last act was to crash into the shed, burying Karen under debris. Frantic, John searched for his wife, fearing the worst. He found Karen alive nearby, holding their newborn baby. Overwhelmed with relief, John knelt beside her. Tears streamed down his face as they gazed at their child, a symbol of their love and resilience. Together, they looked toward an uncertain but hopeful future, ready to leave the horrors of the prison behind and start anew. And you, my friend, can start a new interesting story by clicking on the recommendations on the right next. Subscribe and drop a like if you enjoyed this story. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon.